Lots of new businesses are popping up on the north side of downtown Lexington. Many historic buildings here are being given new life, and it's making Manchester Street a new destination hotspot. The James E. Pepper Distillery has been closed for decades, but thanks to new business and new interest in the area, it's becoming quite a popular one-stop destination spot. The old Pepper Distillery is steeped in rich history, and its untouched charm is what's drawn in new business. Now called the Pepper Campus, it's really a one-stop destination with many unique businesses, like Ethereal Brewing. This local brewery will be celebrating its one-year anniversary and specializes in Belgian farmhouse and American craft beers. So Andrew, tell me about kind of your vision to be able to invest down here at Pepper Campus. I know you weren't maybe the first, but you were one of the first that really had the idea that it could be a destination spot.
Yeah, actually, the way that it worked out was when we first heard about the space down here, we actually were hesitant to come down here. We didn't really want to come this far down Manchester because I've grown up here in Lexington and kind of knew that there wasn't much down this way. And after driving around and looking at all these other spots for this long, eventually we just told our realtor that, you know, we'll go ahead and make them happy and have them quit bugging us about coming down here. And we did, and when we walked in the building, it was kind of a love at first sight. And once we walked in, it was like, you know what, this is where we're going to be, and we knew we could make it work. The beer kind of community in Lexington, you all kind of help each other. There's not a lot of competition, and part of that is because you really each have your own niche. What do you think Ethereal's niche is? Ethereal's niche, it's definitely a little bit more on the Belgian side. Brandon and I, when we were homebrewing together, we really got into Belgian beers because the flavors and things that you can get out of Belgian style beers, it's really quite remarkable, and it's a very, very vast amount of flavors that you can get out of these beers. So we do still make your traditional American and English styles, like your IPAs, stouts, porters, but we focus very heavily on different Belgian style of beers. And I think that really kind of separates, you know, what we do. So what do you think some of your more popular Belgian beers are? I can say hands down our most popular is our White Ale, which is a Belgian wit beer, or Belgian wheat. Blue Moon falls under that style, Avery White Rascal. So it's a really nice kind of lighter beer. It's a good beer that's kind of introductory to people getting into craft beer. You also have this indigenous yeast project. Tell me about that. We love to do Kentucky Proud sort of things, and you know, there's certain markets that are working on the grains and the hops and everything, but what we wanted to do and what we're capable of doing, since we do have an in-house chemist that also knows microbiology, we're able to try to go out and find indigenous yeast that actually just naturally occurs in Kentucky. I'm actually excited to look around. I know you've got your whole beer making empire in the back room there. We do. Everything is here on site. A lot of people that come in from out of town that do tours and things with us, you know, they ask where everything is, and where everything's contained right here. All of our brewing, all of our aging, all of our serving. It's kind of a one-stop place. We're not trucking it in from a larger location. It's a small operation right now. That's pretty fresh. Yes. Well, good. I'm excited to take a look around. Absolutely.
Although Ethereal Brewing was one of the first to jump on board Lexington's newest entertainment destination spot, longtime Lexington chef Mark Jensen was close behind. His new restaurant, Middle Fork, offers a comfortably bold take on traditional dining and happens to be right next door. Mark, thanks for having us here at Middle Fork. Tell me a little bit about what drew you to Pepper Campus.
Well, I've really had the dream of starting a restaurant, and I landed in Lexington about 15 years ago, and it took some momentum to get in, some inertia to be brought up to speed and get the whole dream going. And I looked all over Lexington, and had some really close calls, almost settled into some places. And just by chance, we came down here, and I think I fall into a category of people when they come down, their jaws hit the floor. It's really a special place.
You came from a food truck, really, right?
Yeah,
or a mobile eatery?
Yeah, we called it a galley because it was open air. And the last 2 or 3 years before the restaurant opened, I did a fork in the road mobile galley, and that was great. It allowed me to get my food out there almost every evening and get idea of what kind of reception I would have if I opened up, a full-blown restaurant. And that was a great stepping stone.
Well, how did that shape some of the dishes you have here? I'm sure you have some really innovative ones and some very popular ones.
Yeah, and sometimes that overlaps. My style of cooking and my crew's style of cooking is really to explore all the different textures we can put onto the plate and look with the 5 senses. Is it salty? Is there a sweet component? Is there a savory component? And so we just kind of mix and match that, and we're not really hammered into one cuisine. We'll pick up a salty component, maybe that might be from anchovy from Italy, or on another day it might be miso from the Far East, and it just depends on our kind of mood. And even though the menu is quarterly kind of changing, seasonally changing, all the little accoutrements and the seasonings kind of change around those main proteins and main veg. And that's exciting. We approach that every day a little bit differently.
Well, that's true, and you also approach it differently depending on what's in season and what kind of produce you have, because I know you use a lot of local ingredients. And
absolutely. Yeah. It's always been my dream, and it's a major endeavor. It's our mission to, use what we can right out of the farm. And so most of my contacts are directly through the farmers. So Four Hills Farm is my lamb producer, Sunwatch Homestead is my poultry and pork producer, Missing Link Farms is my egg producer. Everything from the farmers market or directly from the farms that we can. And it's a really exciting thing to do as a cook, because the refrigerators fill up, we prep, and they go down, and then they fill back up, and then they go back down, and it's really changing from day to day.
Well, and I love the stuff that you're doing, because it's stuff you're not going to find other places. I mean, you have some very unique dishes that have a very unique perspective. I know when I was here, I had like a deconstructed peanut butter and jelly appetizer, and I had never experienced anything like that.
Yeah, we get a lot of play with that. It was on the summer menu, and it was very popular, so we continued down for the fall. It is kind of a jammy Asian peanut sauce, and then we do a lot of our own marmalades, and we kind of stumbled upon a process to do a really great lime marmalade. So it's the lime flavors and with that kind of vinegar and peanut and sesame and pickled onions and cilantro. It's just a great bowl that you just kind of spread all over your baguette, and it's yummy.
A well-crafted experience doesn't end here. There's plenty more offered at Pepper Campus. After the break, we check out the other places that call this home, including a new ice cream lounge, which is as equally cool as it is sweet. Today, we're visiting the Old Pepper Distillery, nestled along Town Branch Creek. This area was once the site of a successful whiskey distillery and was the only one in Lexington that actually survived Prohibition. The popular spirit maker eventually went out of business, however, and permanently closed in the 1950s. Today, this site sees plenty of spirits and booming business. Just ask Johnny and Lisa Cox, owners of the Break Room. This vibrant and eclectic bar used to be the break room for the old distillery. It offers a wide selection of drinks and seating options. Enjoy your cocktails at the bar, on the patio, by the fire pit, or by one of the many rotating food trucks. Another business that's paying homage to the heritage of Pepper Campus is Barrel House Distilling Company. So Robert, what I love about your business is that it's really keeping kind of the heritage of the property alive. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. That was actually one of the key drawing points for us when we opened up down here in 2008, was that this property had for many years been used for bourbon production. The James E. Pepper Bourbon Distillery set up down here in about 1878 and ran for the better part of a century, closing down ultimately in 1958. In fact, this building itself was the original barreling house of that operation. They would pump in that new make spirit, and then they would actually barrel it up in those brand new char barrels right here on site. hence our name, Barrel House Distilling Company.
Well, and there must be a certain sense of pride that you're really keeping kind of the purpose of the property still alive and going.
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of how we feel as well. We feel like while we're down here running operations on a daily basis, we have the spirits of the old James Pepper folks watching us to make sure we don't step out of line.
Well, that's true. And what you guys are doing is really neat and different because it's so small batched and such a craft product that it really gives you this kind of ability to have attention to detail.
Absolutely. Every bottle that we produce here undergoes pretty much individual inspection. Our Rock Castle Bourbon brand that we just released here a few months ago, the first batch was only about 500 total bottles, so small batch handcrafted is pretty much the name of the game here at our operation.
That's wonderful. Well, tell me about all the different ones you have.
Absolutely. We've got a variety of spirits that we produce right here. Our Pure Blue vodka was the first product we put on the market way back in 2008. It's a corn-based vodka, actually made entirely from corn, distilled in our copper pot still 4 times, and then cut back to 80 proof and bottled up. Our Devil John Moonshine and Devil John Dark Shine, both of those products are made from an old Eastern Kentucky moonshine recipe. Primarily sugarcane we use, but we also add a little bit of corn in there to give us some added sweetness. Those products are actually named for Devil John Wright, who is somewhat of a local Eastern Kentucky folk legend. He was the great uncle of one of our owners, but also was a moonshiner and lawbringer in the Appalachian region. The Devil John Dark Shine right there is the same moonshine recipe as our Devil John Moonshine. We just barrel age it in small 25-gallon once-used bourbon barrels for just a hair under a year. Our other product here is Kentucky Oak Rum. It's kind of a unique Kentucky twist on an old seafaring spirit. Our oak rum actually will go into once-used bourbon barrels for 4 years. It pulls out many of those rich caramel and butterscotch flavors that are very prevalent in bourbon spirits while still maintaining some of that sugary sweetness.
Lots of businesses here have a synergistic relationship. For example, Tony Davis of Kentucky Knows has a business crafting reclaimed bourbon barrels. He also just so happens to be right next door to the Barrel House, which adds to his wonderful supply of barrels to work with. Tony handcrafts cutting boards, custom grills, and other thoughtful and unique items. He also ages delicious coffee in the reclaimed barrels, including a heavenly sweet oak rum variety. Speaking of sweets, you just can't visit Pepper Campus without a stop at the Crank and Boom Ice Cream Lounge. Okay, so Sean, we're here at Crank and Boom. The smells are amazing when you even just walk in the door. But what I love about where you guys are located here at Pepper Campus is everybody seems to have this real sense of community. I mean, there's no real competition here, it seems.
No, I think they've been pretty thoughtful about who has come into this area, so they augment each other well. Break Room was one of the first ones down here, so they were kind of a linchpin bar, and then we have the microbrew and Middle Fork bringing a lot of farm to table, and then we get the spillover after people are finished with those things with the dessert lounge and ice cream to finish up the evening.
Well, you guys have some really wonderful things that you're doing. Talk to me about some of the most popular ice cream dishes.
We have a couple of flagship ice creams, usually 7 that are always on our menu. The bourbon and honey and blackberry buttermilk are probably our 2 favorite leads if somebody hasn't been exposed to us. We're doing a waffle brunch now on the weekends. So homemade waffles, homemade whipped cream, marshmallows, and then layered upon that is you can get a Bloody Mary or a mimosa. So with our alcohol license, we're just trying to create a nice destination that's responsible, where if 4 or 5 people want to go out and they don't want to go to a bar, they can come here, and those 2 or 3 that would like a beverage, they can grab a beverage. So that nice balance.
You guys have ice cream flights, you're doing all these amazing different sundaes, and talk to me about some of those dishes.
And then some of the seasonal items as well can be found here, not found in the other locations.
Right.
Some of our top sellers and favorites that people come in for are the Bourbon Ball Sundae, made with honey bourbon, and then we put a chocolate sauce on it. And we have some community engaged type of sundaes called the Dirt Sundae. Some of the proceeds go back to Seed Leaf, a local nonprofit that does community gardens. So we do an ice cream sandwich as well. That's a donut with a scoop of ice cream on top. And then we usually put some bacon on there as our #1 selling topping, and homemade marshmallows, hit it with a flame, get the nice smells and caramelization. So that's been a really interesting one. So we offer that during the weekends.
Pepper Campus welcomes anybody and everybody, not only as a customer, but also as another business. You'll see a rotation of food trucks and mobile eateries here, like Thai and Mighty Noodle Bowls, Rolling Oven, and Gastronomes. As a matter of fact, the owner and chef of Gastronomes is so fond of Pepper Campus that he and the owner of Rooster Brewing have plans to open their own brick-and-mortar concept here in the future. The more the merrier here at Pepper Campus. Come and see for yourself why this historic site is reclaiming its tasty and spirited heritage. Make sure and add it to your local travelers list.